This is an ad by Regain Couples Therapy and features real testimonials.
This was our first time trying therapy, and honestly, it was long overdue. Looking back, we just wish we had started sooner.
Regain's qualified therapists help couples when they can't get there on their own.
We thought it was intimacy issues, but Andrea helped us uncover a deeper root cause we hadn't even realized was there.
Visit regain.com/couplespod to get 10% off your first month. Regain, powered by BetterHelp.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F-words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic!
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warm up from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you. We're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Mr. Matt Josephs, aka Mid-Major Matt. Does a great job with the Prop Queen website of Ariel Epstein, along with that podcast. On top of that, I know that he's doing great work with the show Border to Border out there at ESPN Radio in Richmond. We're going to be chatting with him about just what we can expect here in the final day of the regular season, why you might be wanting to tread a little bit more lightly on this day, how he's taking a look at the overall playoff picture, some of the teams that he's feeling bullish/bearish on, and we're also going to be chatting with him about just some of the expectations he has moving forward for some of these teams in the final segment. Going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Sunday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of 2 ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at GUNet_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, name does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via the 5-star review. Well, I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today. Everything is powered by EdgeBoost. EdgeBoost is making sure that bettors are able to access their funds whenever and wherever. That 100% of gambling transactions do get approved. You get cashback rewards as you use EdgeBoost. And when you go to EdgeBoost.bet, put in that promo code of Greg, G-R-E-G. That gets you a $1 match on your first deposit up to $25. Now let's take a look back at everything that we saw in baseball on Saturday. Try to find the trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The Mets have not gotten wins in a lot of their must-win games, but they actually did so on Saturday. Clay Holmes able to deliver 6 scoreless innings, and the Mets get the job done by a count of 5-0. Just 1 hit allowed by Holmes, and from there the bullpen does their part. Tyler Rogers, Brooks Raley, Edwin Diaz all end a scoreless inning, and Yuri Perez does get 11 punch-outs, gives up 3 hits and 5 1/3 innings. Problem is, he also gave up 3 runs, with Pete Alonso taking him deep, 38th home run in the campaign. From there, Lake Bakar and Michael Peterson, great name, both give you a pair of outside the bullpen squirrels. George Soriano gives up 2 runs in an inning, and Josh Simpson, he was able to supply a scoreless inning of his own. The Tigers have not won a lot of must-win games, but they got the one that they needed against the Boston Red Sox, just by kind of 2-1. Kadir Montero, he was not Montero Bull, giving up 1 run over the course of 4 1/3 innings. Bullpen from there does their part. Rafael Montero was not Montero Bull himself. He and Tyler Holton both give you 4 outside the bullpen squirrels. Brant Herter, Will Vest, they both landed scoreless inning. And Connolly early, well, I mean, it was pretty early for a good start. 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. He did his part. From there, you had Peyton Tolley be able to supply a scoreless inning. 3 scoreless out of Chris Murphy, but for the Red Sox, just not a lot doing at the plate, so they do fall in that one. The New York Yankees were able to slug their way to victory over the Baltimore Orioles, this by kind of 6-1. Tomoyuki Sugano, man, in a rough end of the season, 4 runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings, and was taken deep 3 times. Aaron Judge, jury, and executioner, 53rd home run in the campaign. Ryan McMahon, 20th home run season. Giancarlo Carlos Stanton his 24th home run season, while Cam Schlittler, 9 punch-outs, 7 scoreless innings. Paul Blackburn walks the plank from there, giving up a solo home run to Kobe Mayo, his 11th home run of the season. He gives up that 1 run over the course of 2 innings. And then for the Orioles, you had Grant Wolfram give up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning, because that's all that he's good for. Yarmil Hidalgo, he lends a scoreless inning, and 2 scoreless innings out of Carson Ragsdale, but way too little, way too late on that one. And with the Chicago Cubs, they find a way to persevere over the St. Louis Cardinals, despite a count of 7-3. Cubs trying to find some mojo going into the postseason, and Michael Busch already 3 home runs in this series. He goes deep off of Michael McGreevy twice, 33rd and 34th home run season, and Seiya Suzuki, I see you getting your 2nd home run of the series, 31st of the campaign. That comes off of Ryan Fernandez, and Pico Armstrong, who's been a little bit cold, he goes deep off of Ore Alcala, 31st home run of the season. Alcala gives up that home run, 2 runs in total in an inning. Fernandez gives up a home run, 2 runs in total over the course of an inning. Vance Vanson, a scoreless inning. John King was the king of getting it out of the bullpen scoreless, but Michael McGreevy allows us 2 home runs to Michael Busch, 3 runs in 4 and 2/3 innings. And James Antayan, 6th straight start in which he gives up 2 runs or fewer. He gives up 1 run in 6 innings. That 1 run, a solo home run to Nolan Arenado, his 12th home run season. And then Jordan Walker a little bit later off of Cale Theobar, 6th home run season. Theobar allows 2 runs in his inning. Work Drew Pomeranz and Brad Keller, they're both able to polish off a scoreless inning to be able to get that one in. The Blue Jays have been your top over team in all of baseball throughout much of the season. They have now been overtaken by the Seattle Mariners, as for the Blue Jays now 86 overs, 69 very nice unders, and 6 pushes, as they do find a way to be able to get the job done against the Rays with holding them down. 5-1 the final is for the Rays. Joe Boyle, Boyle did not rule it, giving up 4 runs over the course of 5 innings, and then Garrett Clevenger gives up a solo home run to, don't call his name, Alejandro Kirk, 13th home run of the season. It is inning of work. Griffin Jacks, Pete Fairbanks, both on a scoreless inning, and Trey Yesevich, very good start here. He does allow 5 hits, and for the Rays, they left 9 men on base, but doesn't give up any runs. Uriel Rodriguez from there does give up a solo home run to Jonathan Aranda, 14th home run of the season. It is inning of work, but Justin Brule, Tommy Nance, Sir Anthony Dominguez, they're all able to turn a scoreless inning. The San Francisco Giants make Justin Verlander a winner in this one, and what might be his final career start. 4-3 the final. If you like me, had the run line, a little bit salty about that. As for the Giants, you did have Mr. Ryan Walker give up a solo home run in the 9th inning, as he was taken deep by Jordan Beck, 16th home run of the season. For the Rockies, all 3 home runs come off of solo home runs, as Justin Verlander gives up a pair. Hunter Goodman, 31st home run of the season. Brenton Doyle is 15th, as Verlander gives up those 2 runs in 6 innings. Yoeli Piguero, Tristan Beck, both on his scoreless inning, and Spencer Brivens gets 2 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and Kyle Freeland gives up 3 runs in 6 innings, including a home run to Casey Schmidt, 12th home run season. From there, Victor Vodnik gives up a run in an inning. Jimmy Harrigan was able to lend a scoreless inning as well to be able to get that one in. For the Washington Nationals, they do find a way to be able to get this one in. They get the job done by a count of 6-5 over the Chicago White Sox. Tyler Gilbert served as the opener in this one. 1 2/3 innings scoreless. Sean Burke as a bulk guy, he actually had a very good appearance. 4 1/3 innings, he does allow 2 runs, including a home run. He was taken deep by Dallin Lyle, 9th home run of the season, but 10 punch-outs for the 3rd innings. Further, Steven Wilson, he gives up a home run, 2 runs in total in a 1/3 of an inning, as he was cranked deep in this one by Jacob Young, 2nd home run of the season. Then James Goodwood off for Brandon Eisert, 31st home run of the season. Eisert gives up that home run in his 3rd of an inning of work. Mike Vasile gives up a run in an inning. Cam Boucher and out of the bullpen scoreless. And then Jake Irvin, he gives up 4 runs over the course of 6 innings, including a pair of bombs. Brooks Baldwin, his 10th home run of the season, and Colson Montgomery, his 21st. But from there, you had a combined scoreless inning out of Clayton Beater, Connor Pilkington, Julian Fernandez gives you a scoreless inning, and then this was polished off by Jose Ferrer in the 9th inning. The Astros find a way to get the job done and keep their playoff hopes alive. 6-1 the final. Caden Dono has not been too sharp for the Angels. He managed to fill 7 innings, but he gave up 5 runs along the way, all of which were earned, and he gave up a trio of bombs. As Christian Walker home runs 26 and 27 of the campaign, as one of those came off of Jose Ureña. Ureña is all over this one, giving up a solo home run over the course of his 2 innings of work. Other 2 home runs, you had Mr. Jesus Sanchez get his 14th home run season, and home run number 4 for Zachary Cole, as AJ Blubaugh is the starter. He did walk 4, but 4 scoreless innings. JP France, more like Win France, he gives up 1 run over the course of 3 innings, and then Daniel De Los Santos and Craig Kimbrell, they're able to polish off a scoreless inning. For the San Diego Padres, they completely bomb the Arizona Diamondbacks. They get 5 runs in the 1st inning. After that, they do not score at all, but that was more than enough to be able to get the 5-1 win, and Diamondbacks might not finish with a above 500 record, as Andrew Hoffman in relief was solid. He and Taylor Rashi both gave you a scoreless inning, but Eduardo Rodriguez, he did fill 6 innings, but he gave up those 5 runs in the first 2 innings, all of which were earned, including a trio of bombs. Xander Bogaerts, 11th home run season. You had home run number 9 for Elias Diaz, and Fernando Tatis Jr., his 25th. Michael King was not the king of giving you length here. 2 2/3 innings, so he did pitch at scoreless. Yuki Matsui from there gives up a home run to Geraldo Perdomo, 20th home run season, but he filled 2 1/3 innings, and Andre Morejon, Mason Miller, Jeremiah Estrada, and Robert Suarez. They're all able to give you a scoreless inning. The Cincinnati Reds, well, they are the top under team in all of baseball now. 60 overs, 90 unders, and I think that they're up to 10 or 11 pushes. They find a way to be able to get it done against the Milwaukee Brewers, this by a count of 7-4, as Randy Abbott does give up 3 runs in 5 innings, including a home run going deep for the Brewers. Jackson Chourio, 21st home run season, but Robert Gasser and Jacob Mizrowski, they were the 2 main bulk guys, and they did not live up to expectations. Gasser gives up 4 unearned runs in 2 2/3 innings, hurt by his own throwing error, so he should be charged with those. Jacob Mizrowski hurt by a Isaac Collins error, so that one was out on him. 2 runs, one of which was earned, given up in 2 1/3 innings. Grant Anderson from there, 1 2/3 innings, scoreless, and an out of the bullpen from Rob Zanofsky, and Carlos Rodriguez was able to give you 2 scoreless innings, but for the Cincinnati Reds, they managed to go 3 of 12 with men in scoring position. They put up 7 runs despite leaving 12 men on base, and they managed to keep their playoff hopes alive. And for the Pirates, they do not have playoff hopes, but they do have hope for the future as they take down the Atlanta Braves by a count of 3-1 as Bubba Chandler, 5 2/3 innings, he allows just 1 run. Jay Shoger from there, 4 outs out of the bullpen, scoreless. Justin Lawrence, Dennis Santana, London scoreless inning, and Henry Davis, former number 1 overall pick, goes deep off of Spencer Strider, 7th home run season. Strider gives up 3 runs in 6 innings. Jose Suarez, Tyler Kinley, Raciel Iglesias from there, all London scoreless inning, but not a lot doing for the Atlanta Braves at the plate. Nothing doing for the Philadelphia Phillies at the plate. 5-0. They fall in this one to the Minnesota Twins. Mick Abel, who began his season with the Philadelphia Phillies, traded for Harrison Bader. 6 scoreless innings, including 9 strikeouts. Pearson Yule, 2 scoreless innings. Cody Funderburk, a scoreless inning, and the Twins got a trio of bombs. James Outman, well, he was out, man. He got his 6th home run in the campaign by Herb Buxton. He gets his 35th home run season. And Ryan Fitzgerald, he gets home run number 4 of the campaign. That one for Mr. Fitzgerald comes off of Max Laser, who gives up that home run. 2 runs in total in 2 1/3 innings. Other 2 home runs given up by Ranger Suarez. Not necessarily a sharp start here from him. 3 runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings. Orion Kirkering, not out of the bullpen, scoreless. Tim Meza, Lou Trevino, they lend a scoreless inning. But for the Philadelphia Phillies, 7 hits, 0 runs. Not necessarily what they were looking for, but this was what the Cleveland Guardians were looking for. They clinch a playoff berth 3-2. They win on a walk-off hit by pitch as you had CJ Kayfus get it by a pitch by Robert Garcia in the 9th inning after Jacob Latz was pretty solid, and he should be in the starting rotation next year for the Texas Rangers. 5 1/3 innings, does allow a home run in this one as it was number 2 of the campaign for Jonathan Rodriguez, but holds down the fort. Jacob Webb from there. 1 2/3 innings scoreless. Sean Armstrong, a scoreless inning, and then Garcia had 2/3 of an inning in the 9th, and then he has that hit by pitch with the bases loaded that ended the game. Adolis Garcia did go deep off of Joey Cantillo. 19th home run season. Cantillo gives up 2 runs in 5 2/3 innings. Hunter Gaddis, 4 outside the bullpen, scoreless, and Eric Zabrowski, Cade Smith. They combined to be able to pitch the 8th and 9th inning scoreless to be able to get that one in, and also being able to get in. How about the LA Dodgers? As I am doing this is in the bottom of the 9th inning. They're up by a count of 5-3, and looks like they should be able to get this one to the window as Tyler Glasnow, not long for this game, he goes 3 scoreless innings. Andrew Heaney, welcome back. He picked up right where he left off, giving up a bunch of runs. 3 runs allowed in 2 innings, including a home run to Ode Polanco, his 26th home run of the season. Jack Dreyer, Blake Tryon, Alex Vesia have all lent a scoreless inning, and Edgardo Enriquez is now on to try to hold things down in the 9th inning, and Dalton Rushing, big hit in this one. 4th home run of the campaign. That comes off of Logan Gilbert, who gives up 2 runs over the course of 5 innings, including that bomb. From there, you got some pretty good long relief from Logan Evans. He gives up 1 run over the course of 3 innings, but Andres Munoz in a tie game, he gives up 2 runs in the 9th inning, and that right now, that is the difference, and do have to have this up by midnight Pacific, 3 o'clock a.m. Eastern. Right now, the Kansas City Royals up in the 8th inning over the Athletics by a count of 3-1. Michael Wacha, no dying Pac-Man voice here. He was very rock solid. 6 scoreless innings. John Schreiber on El Zerpa from there, combined for the 7th inning with Schreiber giving up a run along the way. And for the Kansas City Royals, as of right now, they're just 2 of 9 with men in scoring position, but did get to Luis Morales, who gives up 3 runs, 2 of which were earned, and 4 2/3 innings. Elvis Alvarado was in the building for 4 outside the bullpen, scoreless. Michael Kelly is scoreless inning, and Tyler Ferguson, he has thrown a scoreless inning as well. And if you're taking a look at trend-wise, what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, it has very much been an underwhelming season thus far this season. The under is hitting at a clip of about 51.3%, 1,180 unders to 1,119 overs. money line favorites hitting at about 56.4%, 1,341 and 1035 on the money line. If you look at the last 30 days, though, money line favorites have not been so great. 207 and 182 on the money line with the game spending for Saturday. That is just 53.2%, with the under rate being 52.2% in the last 30 days. 199 unders to 182 overs, with the last 7 days being quite underwhelming. 47 unders to 34 overs, and the money line favorites hitting at just 54.2%, 45 and 38. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we're all getting trend-wise. Coming up next, how about if we chat with our good friend mid-major Matt Joseph on how we should be playing this very, very strange Sunday in baseball, teams that he's feeling bullish/bearish on going into the postseason, and so much more right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beats and Family Podcast.
This is an ad by Regain Couples Therapy and features real testimonials.
This was our first time trying therapy, and honestly, it was long overdue. Looking back, we just wish we had started sooner.
Regain's qualified therapists help couples when they can't get there on their own.
We thought it was intimacy issues, but Andrea helped us uncover a deeper root cause we hadn't even realized was there.
Visit regain.com/couplespod to get 10% off your first month. Regain, powered by BetterHelp.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Beast and Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man. We've got Matt Josephs aboard. You know him better as Mid-Major Matt. He does an incredible job over on the Prop Queen website of Ariel Epstein. Along with that, the podcast as well. He also does a tremendous job with ESPN Radio and their show Border to Border out there in Richmond, Virginia. I know that he's hard at work on the college football front, the baseball front, and he, much like myself, did an amazing job getting set for the upcoming college basketball season as well. You're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at Mid-Major Matt all together. And Matt, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Matt, it is very much a wonky day in baseball on Sunday because as we're doing this podcast, like half the games are TBD with regards to the starters. There are some teams that might have everything to play for, like the New York Mets and the Cincinnati Reds. Everything's on the line for them. For other of these teams, they're going to be making tee times after this. So how do you take a look at a day like this where things are just very strange, where there are some teams in which their season's on the line and there are other teams where it couldn't mean much less than what it does on Sunday?
I think it's the toughest day of the year, even more tough than opening day to bet player props because half of them will not have K props. Most of them will not have outs props because the books are so scared of trying to figure out themselves how long some of these pitchers are going. And because of trying to figure out how long they're going, they won't offer strikeout props. You know, what do we have a couple of days ago when Sheehan went a 1 inning for the Dodgers? I mean, everybody bet the over on Sheehan and things like that. And then, of course, the Dodgers sent him out here for 1 inning. It's a very tough time. You could find some tremendous values, but you could also lose some bets rather easily.
Absolutely. And how much have you been just taking a look at team tendencies? Because one of those teams that very much has been limiting the innings of their guys has been the Tampa Bay Rays. If you've done nothing but bet the Rays starting pitchers under their strikeout props, I feel like you've done very, very well here over the last few weeks. And there are just some teams that are like that. And I know that there are some people who are like, oh, the Rays are colluding and everything like that. No, that's just the way that the Rays operate.
That's exactly right. I do laugh because there's a lot of people who are like, oh, you've got to take this bet off.
Yeah, the fix is not in. That's just the Tampa Bay Rays being the Tampa Bay Rays, people.
Exactly. Not everything that happens in sports is Vegas is making the call. But, like, you know, this is where you do a little bit of research. And, you know, with a kid like Seymour pitching Sunday against Toronto, I mean, I don't know how long he's going to go because he was a guy that was in the bullpen. Then he became a starter, and he's been pretty good. But I would not expect him to go more than 5 innings. Even less could be on the plate there. So, yeah, certainly he's an interesting one. I mean, you see Cole Reagans. You're going to see him potentially go less innings because he's coming off of an injury. Maybe they have a set amount of pitches going for him. So if you don't see anything out there in any articles that say how long they're going to go, just assume, unless there's something at stake, they're going to go less than you think.
Yeah, and I think that's the best way of being able to put it as well, because with a lot of these teams, they're going to be just sort of mixing and matching. They're going to be seeing what they've got, and this is an audition for a lot of these guys as well, and I'm not sure how you take a look at things, but just because a team is a pretty big underdog and they're eliminated from the postseason doesn't mean that they're automatically a fade, and a team like the Miami Marlins, who they're eliminated from the postseason, they've been still very, very pesky, and I feel like there's been some very good value on these teams that have been eliminated from the postseason but are just looking to play spoiler.
And my guy, Edward Cabrera, one of my favorite pitchers to watch, and he's had a tremendous season, and he's the perfect guy to spoil the Mets season if they needed to. And remember, there is no, starting a game and then kind of looking over. Everybody's playing at the same time. I love that about Major League Baseball, that they're like, all right, everything's starting at 3 o'clock East Coast time. Everybody's going to have to go out there, so we don't have, an NBA situation or a hockey situation where somebody clinches earlier in the day and then somebody's not playing anybody. So I do love that about Major League Baseball. But yes, I do like the spoilers. The White Sox for some time were being spoilers. The Orioles were playing some good baseball at the end. And I said all along, if the Orioles had not messed up this offseason, the Orioles would be one of my favorites in the American League. But they decided to go very cheap and sign very bad pitchers for their rotation. The lineup couldn't handle it, that they had to score a ton of runs every night, and they failed miserably. But that was an Orioles team that could have taken advantage of a Major League Baseball right now, that there is no true, really best team.
Yep, absolutely. And I am right there with you. I appreciate the fact that these teams are all going to be going all out because they don't know how the final of the other game went. The only thing is I could probably use a college basketball game in Hawaii because these games are going to be wrapping up very, very early. But you know what? Beggars cannot be choosers. As Matt Josephs, a.k.a. Major Bet, is joining me on the Baseball Betting Show. And when you just take a look at the board that we've got for Sunday, are there some games where you feel like you might know what you're getting a little bit more? Because I think that a situation like the Braves versus the Pittsburgh Pirates, Charlie Morton probably not going to get pulled out of his start very early. This is probably going to be his last career start going against the Pittsburgh Pirates, against a guy in Johan Oviedo, who's actually been putting together a really nice second half of the season. And I know that the Pirates have been limiting some of their guys a little bit, but I feel like they might let Oviedo go to be able to get a little bit of confidence going into next year. And for Charlie Morton, it really is now or never for him.
Yeah, it is. The pomp and circumstance could be there. Now, the one thing I would just wonder about is maybe they take him out after one hitter and just kind of let him have the whole, everybody gets standing ovation type of thing. It's something that you'll have to pay attention to, press conference clippings afterwards or coach speak afterwards. But he has not gone deep in games. And as a guy who has profited a lot on Morton outs over during a stretch of the season where he was regularly going 6 innings, I'll be interested to see, as you said, a soft ending with the Pirates as his opponent. And if they are truly hoping he goes 5 and gets a victory in his final start and everything, they'll do their best to do that. But I also wonder if they're going to let him go really short and then just take him out and let him get a standing ovation from the Braves fans.
Yep, exactly. And a great career for Charlie Morton, obviously not a great 2025, but you know what, always nice to be able to see that. And this game is so interesting because for the Brewers, I'm pretty sure have already wrapped up the 1 seed at the time of this recording. For the Brewers, they are going to be certainly getting a bye into the postseason. And the Reds have absolutely everything to play for, with the Mets getting the job done on Saturday. It's Brady Singer against Freddie Peralta, and the Brewers are a minus 160 favorite. I'm not sure how you look at this game, but I think that's very intriguing. And for the Cincinnati Reds, I feel like they could get to Freddie Peralta, who I feel like has been very much due for regression this year, but somehow, some way has just continued to get the job done time and time again for the Brewers.
Right, and he's better at home, and certainly that's where you want to play him for the most part. He's been a better pitcher at home, but once again, I don't know how long he's going to go. Like, if for some reason you wanted to isolate Peralta in your bet, I would look at a first 3 or a first 5. I don't think he's going more than 5. I could see him going 1. I could see him going 3. Several Reds hitters actually have decent numbers against him, so, they might not mind him staying around a little bit, but I can't imagine he's going to go 6 or 7. I understand that they're going to have the week off and everything, and you want to have these guys be fresh and everything, but I would rather have him pitching in a side game in a controlled atmosphere instead of a game like this, especially against a team like Cincinnati who could hit him a little bit. So if they do offer an outs prop, I'd probably look at his under because I can't see him going more than 5.
Yep, that is going to be a fascinating game for Sunday. And then this one, I think, has a lot of stakes as well. Dodgers against the Seattle Mariners. We all thought at this time of year that the Dodgers would be resting everyone, but they have Clayton Kershaw going on the bump after he went in there out of the bullpen like 3 or 4 days ago against the Arizona Diamondbacks. So a very intriguing situation here. You've got a true pick'em game right around minus 108 to minus 110 with a total of 8. And typically this would be a spot where I like to fade these guys after they come out of the bullpen and then they have to start a few days later. But Bryce Miller has really been the weak link for the Seattle Mariners this year. So want to get your thoughts on this one because this is one of the most curious games and one of the most meaningful games on the board for Sunday.
Once again, I don't know how long Kershaw is going to go. I mean, if you look at his last couple of starts, he went 4 1/3 and he went 3 innings and 2 starts back-to-back against the Giants, 5 2/3 in Baltimore, 5 innings in Pittsburgh. So, I can't imagine they're going to have him go too long in this game. Once again, I don't think the books will offer an outs prop here, but, I could see people wanting to play like Kershaw, thinking he might pitch well in the start. But once again, if you're going to make a bet based solely off of him, I would say look at the first 3 or the first 5. And you're right, Bryce Miller's a guy that I kind of fade a little bit. Now, my question always is with regards to the Dodgers strikeouts. This team strikes out a lot and has been for certain stretches. I mean, Kirby had 10 strikeouts in 5 innings. Ryan Nelson had 9 in 6 innings. So if the number's a little bit too low, I might look at his K prop over here because the Dodgers do have a little bit of strikeout problem at times. The most important thing is to look at the lineups before you make bets. This is almost one of those days where you don't want to make a bet a couple hours beforehand unless you're betting on a bad lineup or a pitcher leaving early, because you want to make sure who's trying and who's not.
Yep, exactly. And I feel like that could be the case for this game as well, as I know that you're a bit of a Philadelphia Phillies fan. They are going to be throwing out the Christopher Sanchez against Simeon Woods Richardson, and Phillies are north of -$2 favorites with a total of 8. But how do you look at both this game for the Philadelphia Phillies and them moving forward? Because they're either going to have the 1 or the 2 seed. I know as we're doing this, they're losing on Saturday, so it's looking more and more likely like they are going to be the 2 seed. But I think that they are such a fascinating team going into the postseason with the way that the bullpen has been much better recently for the Phillies, despite the fact that Jose Alvarado coming off the suspended list was a flop and went back on the injured list.
Sound like a broken record. I can't imagine Sanchez goes more than 5. I understand he is the game 1 starter for the NLDS, so I can't imagine they're going to want him to go more innings than he needs to in a game that doesn't really matter, especially if the Brewers win. I think, because I'm pretty sure the magic number was 1. I think it's either a Brewers win or a Phillies loss. And if the Phillies lose this game on Saturday, then it won't matter anyway. But I think there is also a chance they may not even pitch him. I would not do anything. I would not start this guy because, look, if Zach Wheeler was there, I would understand it because he would be the game 2 starter, Christopher Sanchez. But he's your game 1 starter. He's the guy that's going to go up against the Tyler Glasnow or whoever the Reds will send or whoever the Mets will send, whoever makes it. So I can't imagine that he's going to go long. And I can't imagine that if the 1 seed is out, there's a chance he might not pitch at all. And then you look, Simeon Woods Richardson, once again, this is a Phillies team that I could very easily see sending out a Garrett Stubbs lineup with a bunch of guys who are not doing anything. So this is one of those games where you certainly should be looking at the lineup to make sure the Phillies are playing anybody. And if not, maybe you can be faster than the books and take a K prop over with SWR.
And I think that that's so well said by you, because there are some of these bets where you want to be making sure that it's pitcher dependent, because you certainly want Christopher Sanchez versus anyone else, because whoever's not pitching, if it's Christopher Sanchez getting scratched, that's certainly going to be a massive downgrade and you're going to lose a lot of value. But let's say that you're in on like a under in terms of the game and everything like that, and you want to be able to be quick there. You want to go a little bit more action there, and I think that that's very big with regards to Sunday, just knowing the sort of bet that you want. When if you're banking on a pitcher, you want to make sure that you get that pitcher. If you're banking on a bad lineup, well, you can just let it ride.
Well, and this is another day where I don't think you should go large on anything. I mean, I just think that even if you think you have an angle, you do not have an angle. Like everything that's out there is out there. And so like, I'm not saying don't bet on this Sunday, because there's certainly going to be some value out there, but I would never say like, this is my 10-star lock of the year, because you never know what's going to happen. And then you look foolish when it doesn't hit.
Yeah, but I'm right there with you. This is the sort of day where you want to be treading a little bit more lightly. This is not the last day for your bankroll. Might be the last day of the regular season, but you're going to have plenty of opportunities in the postseason. Let's say that you don't get a ton of opportunities in the postseason. You still have football, you have college basketball, you got the NBA. In 2026, you're going to have plenty of baseball to be able to bet. This is not the last day for your bankroll. So I am right there with you as well. And I do think that it is just so interesting to take a look at this postseason picture as well, because I alluded to it with you, the fact that the Philadelphia Phillies, they are going to be an interesting team in the National League playoffs, but I just feel like this is a more open year than ever before, and I just take a look all across the league, both American League and National League, and I feel like this could be a good year to be able to take a look at just some underdogs, some long shots, and for lack of a better term, the teams like the Seattle Mariners and the Cleveland Guardians who have gotten very hot in this time of year.
Yeah, there's not a single team that scares me, and there's not a single team that I don't think, I mean, probably, I don't think Detroit's going to win the World Series. I don't think so. Scooble's only going to pitch 3 times at most in a 7-game series, so I don't like what's behind them. Cleveland's, I don't know if they have enough offense, but their pitching is certainly going to keep them in games. Milwaukee is a favorite, but like, how many times have we done this before where Milwaukee's a hot team, or they've got all the pitching lineup, and then of course they don't hit enough? And I know their hitting's better this year. Certainly before the Brewers fans fans get mad at me. As a Phillies fan, I understand more than anybody that you could be hot going into the postseason and then run into the wrong pitching staff and this thing's over. Or, the easiest thing that could happen is, what did we talk about all preseason? Oh, the Dodgers are going to run away with this thing. The Dodgers have everybody. The Dodgers spent bazillions of dollars. Like, the Dodgers could just show up, be the best team like they were the preseason, and run through everybody. Like, that's the thing about this postseason, is that almost everybody, especially in the National League, I think has a shot to make the World Series.
Yep, I'm right there with you. And just a moment where you think you know everything about this baseball season, you really know nothing. So it has been fascinating there. And is there any bets that you're looking to place, whether that be for Sunday or a little bit more moving forward in terms of the futures market? Because I do feel like in baseball this time of year, it's been more murky than I've ever noticed before. And I do think that it's going to be tough to be able to find some value on Sunday. And certainly with regards to postseason, the futures market has been one that I have been very much staying away from with the way that we have seen so much craziness this season.
Detroit's going to be interesting because obviously they clinched their postseason berth, but they still could win the division, and that could help it with regards to seeding. It's all about which way they want to go. We already know Skubal's not going on Sunday. He's going to go game one of the postseason series, but there's a chance that the Tigers can go and keep trying and put out a normal lineup, or they put out the hangover lineup. Now, we don't know as of doing this podcast who the Red Sox starter is going to be for this game, so that certainly comes into play. But if I see like a give up lineup from Detroit and we get a decent starter from Boston, I might look at the K-prop over there if one gets offered. They just announced as we did this, Sean Manaea is going to start for the New York Mets, which means he's going to go about 4 or 5 innings. We have to figure out who's going to go behind him because it used to be Manaea, then Holmes, and Holmes would be the backup guy there. So, this is one of those things where...
What's supposed to be David Peterson's turn in the rotation, too.
Oh, he could be the backup guy too, but then I don't know about having a lefty follow a lefty. Who knows? The Mets aren't intelligent, so they might just go lefty and lefty. But this is the type of day where you might see starting pitchers come out of the bullpen, especially if there's a lot at stake. So it's really hard to handicap this thing. But I'll be interested to just see what the Tigers are doing, because if they give up, I'm going to look to fade them. Kyle Bradish has been tremendous at the end of the season. The Yankees, they don't have as much. Well, Toronto and him are tied, so there is a lot at stake. But I think Bradish is going to pitch pretty well in this game. I don't think they're going to yank him early, so I'll be looking at isolating Kyle Bradish somehow in that start. And look, I just feel like when it comes to futures, I think whoever wins maybe between the Mets and the Reds could be live against the Dodgers, It's certainly the Reds. Look, if you can throw Green and Lodolo and Abbott and some of those, and Littell, although I'm not a Littell guy so much, but I think they have the pitching staff to make things interesting and bring the game down a little bit. And if it's a 2-1 game, one bad pitch from a Dodgers bullpen that's been awful so far lately this season, the Reds could certainly win that series. Heck, I might be looking at I know some books offer the +1.5 maybe, or +0.5 in terms of what the series price will be or what the series final number will be. I'll be looking to see who gets that final playoff spot, and I might take advantage of that against the Dodgers, knowing full well the Dodgers can win the series easily, but the price could be too good to pass up.
Yep, absolutely. And it is going to be a lot of fun to see what we get on Sunday, because certainly the Reds are going to be playing some meaningful baseball along with the New York Mets. We still have a lot that is at stake with regards to some of those final playoff spots. And then there are some teams that they're going to be making their tee times shortly after they wrap up their season. So a lot at stake there. And I know you, Matt, are doing such a tremendous job taking a look at this great game of baseball. But on top of that, you're looking at some college football. You, much like myself, doing an amazing job getting set for the upcoming college basketball season as well. So let the good people at home know it's all on tap for you and how people are able to follow along on social media and other platforms.
At Mid-Major Matt on Twitter, I post all my plays. We've been doing very well in baseball this season, so we're looking forward to that. And I've been pretty good in the postseason, because it's one of those things where you select your spots. You don't have to bet every game, and so you try and isolate certain things and take advantage of high outs numbers when you know that certain managers pull their starters pretty quick. So that's something we look at. And of course, as you mentioned, college football. We've been doing well in college football, posting some NFL props every once in a while. And of course, when I have 10 or 15 minutes, we're looking at a college basketball team. We're studying your notes or whatever as we get ready for the college basketball season with more and more schedules coming out. So a great time of year to make some money. And anytime anybody has any questions, they can certainly tweet me, because we all have the same goal. We all want to beat the books.
Absolutely. And Matt, he does such an excellent job taking a look at this great game of baseball. He's been joining me all throughout the season, and every single time he joins me, he lends such great insight. So big thanks to Matt for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this last day of the regular season as we touch them all.
Are you interested in effortlessly growing your Bitcoin portfolio? I sure am. The Bitcoin credit card by Gemini earns you Bitcoin back on every purchase. Use it like any credit card. Buy lunch, gas, or your weekly groceries, and you'll earn up to 4% back instantly in Bitcoin or one of over 50 other cryptos straight to your account. All that with no annual fee, and right now you can grab a $200 Bitcoin welcome bonus. It's the easiest way to start building your Bitcoin stack. Go to Gemini.com/card to learn more. Terms apply. See the link in the description for more information regarding rates and fees.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VEASAN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by Matt Josephs, aka Mid-Major Matt. He does such an excellent job taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Know that he's hard at work on the college football and college basketball front as well. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and did so once again today. So, big thanks to Matt for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Sunday, the final Baseball Sunday of the regular season, as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_D1, and especially today, it's the last day of the regular season. A lot of teams are either locked into their playoff spots or they're going to be playing their last game of the year, so there are going to be quite a few changes. I've got the spreadsheet link in the description wherever you're getting this. This is always one of the most murky days of the year to be able to try to record a podcast in advance because there's a lot of moving parts, so I will say that right away. So if you're concerned being like, hey, there was a pitching change, that's just going to happen on this day, unfortunately, but we're going to do our best. I'll be updating everything on the old Twitter/X at @GUnit_D1 as well, so there's that. And how about if we do get things started with this first Ashley game of 9:51 and 52 on the card. The San Francisco Giants play OC Colorado Rockies. It is going to be Logan Webb going on the bump for the Giants, and McCade Brown is on the bump for the Rockies, and the Rockies sizable underdogs between plus 137 to a plus 170. Minus 301 to minus 335 is that number on the Giants. Right now, the Giants' initial run line price is a minus 130, and total is 7.5. The over and the under both at minus 110, and semi-total at 7.9. I like the over mainly because I think that McCade Brown is going to be lit up. I set the San Francisco Giants at a minus 182 on the run line. Like, McCade Brown is just that bad at this point. McCade Brown, a 7.54 ERA in his 6 starts. He's allowing 1.6 home runs and 6 walks per 9 innings. I mean, the fielding independence is 6.23. I guess he's doing for a little bit of positivity. And I will say this for McCade Brown. Last 3 starts, a combined 6 runs allowed. He's looked a little bit better. Finally filled 5 innings in a start against Seattle. But yeah, he just does not look ready for the big league level. He never even pitched at the AAA level. And for Logan Webb, this guy has always been a dominator at home. You take a look at his career splits, home and road, and this is all of his years of his career. For his career, he's been posting up an ERA that is sub-3 at home, and for his career at home, he's only giving up about 0.5 home runs per 9 innings to go with that 2.87 ERA, 3.95 ERA on the road. And for Logan Webb, he's had himself a very rock-solid season, 3.30 ERA, fielding independent of a 2.68, 9.5 strikeouts, 0.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings, facing a Rockies team that's averaging about 2.85 runs per game. That is dead stinking last in all of baseball, and there's just so many guys on this Rockies team that are earning below a 220 when they're away from home. Blaine Krim, Ezekiel Tovar, Brenton Doyle, you just go down the list. Ryan Ritter, like all these guys, they do not hit well away from home. Most of these guys hit much better when they are at home. Hunter Goodman is still solid. He's been able to give you 31 home runs this season, and in his road games, I believe he's up to 19 home runs. But then for the San Francisco Giants, you've had Matt Chapman be able to find it with over 20 home runs, 342 on base. Willie Adames has not hit for average all season long, but 28 home runs. For Rafael Devers, 340 on base since joining the Giants with 18 plus home runs. Certainly they were expecting a little bit more there, and they're mixing and matching a little bit with the outfield spots with like Drew Gilbert, Gerard Encarnacion, getting some at-bats, but Wilmer Flores continues to be solid. And for the Giants, they continue to be a top 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA this season, even though they do lose quite a few players at the deadline. You did have Randy Rodriguez go on the injury list, but Joey Lucchesi has been able to give you a sub-325 ERA. Same with Yoel Piguero. We have seen Matt Gage, Jose Buto be a little bit, shall we say, struggling recently, but for this Colorado Rockies bullpen, it's just all sorts of terrible. Likes of Zach Ognos, Nick Anderson, Anel Shavili, Anthony Molina, all posting up above a 5 ERA. Luis Peralta, man, these guys are not great other than Victor Vodnik, Jimmy Herget. You really have nothing to speak of, and I think that the Giants just go out there and dominate this game. I said by total 7.9. I like the over, and with the Giants, one way up to a minus 180 on that run line. 953, 954 on the card. It is the Mets. They are going to be on the road facing off against the Miami Marlins. We do know that Edwin Cabrera is going to be on the bump for the Miami Marlins. Right now, the betting board reads to be determined for the Mets, so this game is off the board. It's looking like Sean Manaea is going to be the starter for the Mets, and pretty much whoever's plus money is who I'm going to be willing to roll with here. For the Mets, set them at a minus 103, so 1 to lay up to minus 102 there, plus 104 better. Looking at the Marlins, and made a total to wear an 8 or less. I'm down the over at an 8.5 higher, the under for Manaea. I think that he's going to have a very short leash with how bad he's been pitching this year. A 5.80 ERA. He's getting strikeouts. He's getting 11 strikeouts per 9 innings, but is allowing 2 home runs per 9 innings. He's been sort of up, down, all around. They threw him out of the bullpen in that series against the Chicago Cubs, and this is just not a very good bullpen that's backing him up. You've had so many guys like Gregory Soto, along with Ryan Helsley, who they picked up, rocking north of a 4 ERA. Now, they did get a really good start out of Clay Holmes yesterday, so you're going to have a lot of hands on deck, and this was supposed to be a start for David Peterson. You could see David Peterson come in relief as well, so with the Mets, they could be throwing the kitchen sink in this one. And this is a New York Mets team that the offense has been relatively solid. Like, you've got a quartet of guys at the top: Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, Juan Soto, all at 25 plus home runs. Soto has been able to give you a 395 on base. Alonso went deep yesterday. He's up to about a 350 on base. And then Starling Marte of the Marte Parte hitting at 275. Francisco Alvarez has been solid at the catcher spot. Jeff McNeil at 340 on base. You've got the lineup really clicking, and for the Miami Marlins, this team is in the bottom 3 in the National League in terms of run creation at home. They're in the top 3 in terms of run creation away from home in the National League, so puzzle me that. That's just because this is such a pitcher-friendly ballpark, but you've had some young guys step up for this team. Troy Johnson, Xavier Edwards, both hitting about a 280, and Jacob Marcy in a small sample size of 370 on base. You don't have a lot of home run power other than really Augustin Ramirez. There's no other healthy players that give you 15 plus home runs, but a lot of guys like Otto Lopez, Connor Norby, Liam Hicks, Eric Wagaman hitting in that neighborhood about a 245 to a 250, so that's been relatively solid. And for the Miami Marlins, it's been pretty up-down all around with regards to this bullpen, as you've had Lake Bakar throw his ERA in the lake. He and George Soriano above a 375 ERA, and Soriano about an 80 ERA. Man, it's been bad for him, but Tyler Phillips, Kate Gibson, Ronnie Enriquez, these are long guys who are able to give you sub 350 ERA. Calvin Fauché has been able to straighten things out as well, and for the New York Mets, you just don't know what you're going to get out of this bullpen. That's why they've been utilizing some of their starters out of the bullpen, as you've got the likes of Gregory Soto, Ryan Stanek, Ryan Helsley, posting up ERAs well above a 350. Brooks Raley, Edwin Diaz has been relatively solid in the bullpen, and for Edward Cabrera, he has been very rock solid when he's been at home. Overall for the season, he's been giving up only about 1 to 1.1 home runs per 9 innings. He always had a problem with regards to command. He's down to about 3 walks per 9 innings, which for his standards is much, much better, and he's still getting a lot of strikeouts. He's been able to give you about 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but that ERA at home goes down to a 291 with 0.7 home runs per 9 innings. So if I'm able to get a relatively pickup line, whether it's David Peterson or just like a wholesale approach with the Mets selling out for this game, pretty much whatever team is plus money, that's the team that will be taking on the money line. 8 or less in on the over, 8.5 or higher. The under, 955, 956 on the card. The Cincinnati Reds, and yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They're onto the road. They're facing off against the Milwaukee Brewers. Freddie Peralta goes for the Brewers, and Brady Singer hopes to have the Brewers singing the blues. As for Peralta and the crew, they are minus 155 to minus 162 favorites. Plus 130 to plus 136, that number on the Reds with a total of 7.5. Over is minus 110 to a minus 115. Under is minus 105 to minus 110. For the Reds, I need at least a plus 156 to be able to take a shot on them. If you're looking to lay a run half with the Brewers right now, I'm seeing a plus 140 out there. I'd be willing to go a plus 130 or higher, so when it's all said and done, should be landing on the Brewers on the run line. Now, Freddie Peralta is doing for quite a bit of regression. It has been a masterful season from Freddie Peralta, and the swing and miss stuff continues to be good. 10.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's only allowing 1 home run per 9, but that 268 ERA comes with a 362 fielding dependent, as he has been giving up 3.4 walks per 9 innings, and it's just been a magic magical run for him recently. He has given up 2 earned runs or fewer in now 6 out of his last 7 starts. Again, I do think that he's going to be taking a little bit of setback, especially with how just insane he's been at home. For Freddie Peralta, a 171 ERA with 0.6 home runs per 9 innings allowed at home, but Brady Singer comes in, pitching some of his best baseball as well. 2 runs or fewer allowed in 8 out of his last 11 starts. He's only giving up 1 home run per 9 innings this year, 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, so not a strikeout artist, but he's been relatively solid. But that said, he does have to face off against the Brewers team that leads the National League in terms of run creation. Ever since the All-Star break, they've been putting up right around about 5.3 runs per game, and it's not because they've got a whole bunch of power or anything like that. For the Brewers, they're in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per-at-bat basis. Only one player on the roster entered in the weekend with over 20 home runs this season. That'd be Christian Yelich with 29 home runs, but you've got Bryce Terang, Isaac Collins, Caleb Durbin, Andrew Maristerio, so many guys give you at least a 330 on base. Andrew Vaughn in a Brewers uniform and a Brewers uniform only, above a 375 on base. You're getting Rhys Hoskins off the injured list. This is just a 1 through 9 that is really doing a good job of finding a way on. And for the Cincinnati Reds, they've been emulating that as well. You don't have a whole bunch of big giant poppers in this lineup. Spencer Steer, Ellie De La Cruz, 21 home runs apiece, but De La Cruz, CJ Friedel, Novalli Marte, guys like this, Gavin Lux, hitting between about a 262, 270. They're finding a way to be able to get on base. Brian Hayes in a Reds uniform has been solid. Whenever you've thrown out there Miguel Andujar, he's hitting above 300 as well. So these guys have really done a nice job of being able to find a way on. For the Reds, the bullpen is mid, I think, as the kids would like to say, is the best way of putting it, as Tony Santana and Emilio Pagan a sub 350 ERA, along Connor Phillips. Pagan gives up a few more home runs than what I'd like, but all in all, it's been fine. But likes of Chase Burns, Scott Barlow, Graham Ashcraft, they have not gotten the job done in the bullpen. And for the Milwaukee Brewers, this is a bullpen that is still dealing with the injury to Trevor McGill, but that said, you've had so many guys be able to step up, like Jared Koenig, Nick Mears, Abner Uribe. You just go down the list of guys. They're giving you a sub 325 ERA. Obviously, Aaron Ashby, as a long guy, has been pretty rock solid as well. And I do think that even though Freddie Peralta sees a little bit of regression here, Brewers do find a way to be able to get the job done. And they want to play a little bit of spoiler here on the Reds. So plus 130 or better looking at that Brewers run line. And made my total 7.9. So at the 7.5, I like the over. 957, 958 on the betting board. It is the Arizona Diamondbacks. They hit the road. They're facing off against the Slam Diego Padres. We do know that Brandon Pfaadt is going to be battling for the Arizona Diamondbacks. As of right now, betting board reads to be determined for the San Diego Padres, so this game is off the board. The belief is that Nick Pivetta should be pitching in this one. If you do get Pivetta against Pfaadt, I'd be setting the Diamondbacks at a plus 158, so we need at least plus 159 there, minus 157 or better, looking at the Padres, and then 7.5 or less in on the over and 8 or higher to the under. Now, if it's not Pivetta, if it's a Randy Rodriguez, maybe you throw out there someone that is a little bit more mix and match, a bullpen game, then it's probably closer to about a minus 125 to a minus 130 on the Padres. It's about a 35 or so cent move there, and then that would send the total from a 7.5 or less to the over to an 8 or less to the over, 8.5 or higher to the under. So I've got both of those handicaps there. And for Brandon Pfaadt, man, this guy's not been great on the road this year. Overall for the season, he's posting up an ERA of a 5, and he's only been able to get around 7 to 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. And overall for the season, Pfaadt has just had a tough time keeping the ball in the yard, giving up about 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, but that really manifests itself on the road. Brandon Pfaadt on the road, he is giving up, I'm not even kidding here, about 2.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings with a 7.29 ERA. Yeah, that's not great to say the least. Now, the good news is the San Diego Padres have not really gone yard all season long. This is a Padres lineup that is actually in the bottom 5 of the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. Now, you have had Manny Machado be very rock solid for the team, 26 home runs. He's been able to above a 270. Obviously, Fernando Tatis Jr. is doing Fernando Tatis Jr. things. He's putting up 24 bombs, 365 on base. You're bringing the Ramon Laureano over 20 home runs overall for the season. Since he's gotten to town, he's been hitting a 270. Ryan O'Hearn, a 350 on base with a Padres uniform on. And I mean, 1 through 9 for the Padres on any given night, you could have everyone hitting a 250 or better. Luis Rice hitting a 292. You honestly expect a little bit more there, but I mean, you've had Jake Cronenworth provide about a 370 on base. That home run power has just been eluding them. Now, what has been great for the San Diego Padres, and it's why they're still going to be a sizable favorite if they do throw like some sort of bullpen game or Randy Rodriguez. This bullpen is numero uno in all baseball in terms of bullpen ERA. Even the likes of Wandy Peralta and Robert Suarez are providing a sub 315 ERA, but but you look at Jason Adam, Mason Miller, Ron Benanaccio, David Morgan, all these guys will give you a sub-275 ERA. They've been very rock solid, and for the Arizona Diamondbacks, this continues to be a bottom 7 team in the big leagues in terms of their bullpen ERA. Now, Andrew Saalfrank has been really good since coming out the injury list, a sub-2 ERA, but now you're having to rely upon a young gun in Philip Abner, who's made 4 career appearances in big-time pressure spots, not where you want to be. Likes of Juan Barrio, Anthony DeSclafani, Jake Woodford, Taylor Rashi, all these guys posting up above a 4.15 ERA. That's been a little bit less than amazing, and for the Arizona Diamondbacks, they have an offense that is still in the top 7 in all of baseball in terms of run creation because they've got a lot of guys that are getting on base. Corbin Carroll leading the way with 31 home runs, and Ketel Marte still 27 home runs this season, but many of those home runs came before the All-Star break, but still has been able to give you 375 on base. Geraldo Perdomo, 390 on base. Since the All-Star break, Blaze Alexander has been able to give you about a 320 on base, and now you've got coming off the injury list, your main catcher in Gabriel Moreno has been able to bat a 280 as well, but I do think that in the end, the San Diego Padres, especially if you get Pivetta on the mound, who's at a sub-250 ERA at home, they should be a sizable favorite. Again, if it's Pivetta, minus 158 is where I'm setting the Padres. Bullpen game / Randy Rodriguez, probably closer to like a minus 125, minus 130, so we need at least plus 159 to take a shot on the Diamondbacks against Pivetta, more like plus 125, plus 130 against someone else, and then 7.5 or less in on the over, 8 or higher to the under if it is Pivetta. If it's not Pivetta, 8 or less to the over, 8.5 or higher. The under, 959, 960 on the card. The Atlanta Braves playoffs to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Charlie Morton in his last career start goes for the Atlanta Braves, and you don't mess with the Johan Oviedo goes for Pittsburgh. Tallest game is 8, the over is minus 115, the under is minus 105. Minus 220 is that number on the Atlanta Braves, plus 180 to plus 190. That number on Pittsburgh, I hate to rain on the parade of Charlie Morton, but I set this Braves money line at a minus 142, so I'm going to be looking at the Pittsburgh Pirates. Johan Oviedo has actually been really good this season. Now, he's doing for a bit of regression. You take a look at Mr. You Don't Mess with the Johan Oviedo in this spot, and he's been providing an ERA of more around about a 357, but feeling dependent of a 473. He has given up 5 walks, 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, but up above 8 strikeouts per 9 innings. His swing and miss stuff has been much better this year than it really ever has been, and Charlie Morton has just struggled this year. Spent some time with the Orioles, spent some time with the Tigers, 589 ERA, 1.5 home runs, 4.5 walks allowed per 9 innings, so this has just been a lost season for him, and it's emotional that he gets to have his final start with the Atlanta Braves, where he spent a lot of his career. He spent a lot of time with both Pittsburgh and the Atlanta Braves, so yay, verily there, but I just don't think that this is going to go well for him because the Pirates have a lot of guys that are hungry and are looking to be able to have a spot for next year. The Pirates, they're averaging only 3.6 runs per game. That's dead last in all baseball, but last 32 games going into the game on Saturday, averaging closer to about 4.065 runs per game, which, it's not massive, but it's an improvement. Oneil Cruz, along with Andrew McCutchen, Brian Reynolds, lone 3 guys on the roster that have given you more than 10 home runs. Now, you're getting a little bit more power out of Tommy Pham and Spencer Horwitz. Horwitz actually already has a multi-home run game in this series. You still have a cavalcade of different guys. They're hitting below a 210 for this team. Lovar Piguero, Henry Davis, Oneil Cruz, Jack Swiniski, Cam Devaney. It's been rough, to say the least, but been able to get a little bit more production there, and for the Braves, this has been a top 10 offense in terms of run creation ever since the All-Star break, headlined by Matt Olson. Give you 29 bombs. He's up to about a 365 on base. Michael Harris has been hitting above a 285 since the All-Star break. Overall for the season, a 268 on base has been less than savory, but he's up to 20 home runs. Marcell Ozuna, 21 bombs, about a 360 on base. Drake Baldwin, he's not going to win the Rookie of the Year, but still hitting a 275 with 19 home runs. That's a solid year. Ronald Acuna Jr., over a 4 on base with 20 home runs. So, you still have some rock-solid pieces in this lineup. Both of these bullpens do have their issues. So, Raciel Iglesias has been much better recently. He and Dylan Lee right around about a 3.30 ERA in the bullpen. They're picking up Yo Payams. We'll see what he's got, as it's been a lost season for him, to say the least. But you've also been able to have Pierce Johnson go out there, give you about a 3 ERA, though he's had a little bit of rough go of it in this series. And for the Pittsburgh Pirates, it's been a case where you've had a pair of guys in Isaac Madsen and Alantana Santana give you a sub-350 ERA. Dory Moretta has been solid as well, but the likes of Colin Olderman and company have been an issue. But I do think that they get to a guy more than that is just at a very advanced age. Again, emotional spot here, but I don't think that means just too much here in the final game of the regular season. I do look at the Pirates in this spot, set them at a plus 142, so being able to get a plus 180 in on the Pirates, and I like that over, so I might tell it an 8.7. 961, 962 on the betting board. The Cardinals are on the road. They're facing off against the Chicago Cubs. Kyle Leahy will be the starter for the St. Louis Cardinals. Right now, it's to be determined on the bump for the Cubs, so this game's off the board. When I was looking at the projections, it was Javier Assad who is getting the start for the Cubs, and if you do get Assad, he's probably only going to go 3 or 4 innings, and even if he's not the starter, this will probably be a spot where he'll probably get like some bulk relief or something like that, and if you do get Assad going against Kyle Leahy, I did set my money line price at a minus 146 on the Cubs, so willing to lay up to minus 145 there, plus 147 or better. Looking at the St. Louis Cardinals, and then set a total of a 7.5 or less to the over, an 8 or higher to the under, and the wind is going to be blowing in at Wrigley Field for this day. Little bit directional, about 7 miles per hour, so it's impactful, but it's not an end-all, be-all. It's not like you're going to be getting like gale force winds or anything like that. That said, for Assad, whether you get him as a starter or a little bit more of a bulk guy, just a guy that really doesn't get a lot of swing and miss this season. 4.8 strikeouts to 3.1 walks per 9 innings. This would be his first time out there on the mound in about a week or so this would line up for him being able to get some innings. He's been able to keep things out in front of him with giving up the 0.9 home runs per 9 innings, but again, not a guy that's necessarily going to wow you in. For Kyle Leahy, I think that the St. Louis Cardinals are just trying to see what he's got here, as he has mostly been like a 1 to 2 inning guy all season long, and he's been solid in the bullpen, a 3.18 ERA. He's never really been truly a starter at the big league level, and he is backed up by a bullpen that is rock solid. Like, I do think that this is going to be a relatively big time wholesale game for the St. Louis Cardinals, as likes of a Jojo Romero, Riley O'Brien, Matt Savanson, these guys have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. The problem for the Cardinals has been this offense. In the second half of the season, they've been dead last in the National League in terms of run creation. Now you've got Wilson Contreras out for the season, so I mean, Alec Burleson is the lone guy in the starting lineup right now with over 14 home runs, hitting a 290. He's been solid. Brandon Donovan's moving line with about a 350 on base. Lars Newparson's coming off the injury list, no power, but he's been with like a 325 with regards to on base. But the young guys just have not stepped up for the team. Victor Scott, Jordan Walker, Nathan Church, Nolan Gorman, all these guys hitting a 220 or lower. That's been an issue all of a sudden for the Cubs, who have been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of their run creation since the All-Star break. They're starting to find it. Michael Busch up to 32 home runs this season. Seiya Suzuki, Pete Armstrong, who had been miserable coming into the series, they both have hit bombs. They're both now above 30 plus home runs. I think for the season, these two guys along Dansby Swanson, Carson Kelly, all between about a 242 to 250. So I mean, they're doing an okay job moving the line, but that's been Nico Horner's job, who's been hitting well above a 315 ever since the All-Star break as well. And for the Cubs, bullpen is relatively strong, even if you don't necessarily get Javier Assad as a bulk guy and you go a little bit more of, shall we say, a wholesale approach. Maybe you have Aaron Savali throw some bulk innings, who in 5 appearances with the Cubs, he has been able to post up a 208 ERA. And for Aaron Savali, last time they used him was on Wednesday, so it is conceivable that they could use him for like 2 or 3 innings as a little bit of a piggyback here as well. But I mean, you do have the likes of Daniel Palencia, Caleb Theobar, Brad Keller, along with even Drew Pomerantz. All these guys will be able to give you a sub 3 ERA, so do think that the Cubs should be a nice size favorite here. Willing to lay up to a minus 145 with them, plus 147 or better. Looking at the Cardinals, 7.5 or less in on the over, and 8 or higher to the under. 963, 964 on the card. It is the Orioles. They hit the road. They're facing off against the New York Yankees. Luis Eel is on the bump for the Yankees, and Kyle Bradish goes for Baltimore. Baltimore is an underdog between plus 140 to a plus 144, minus 170 to minus 175. That number on the Yankees with a total of 9. The over is minus 120. The under is even. Seeing a straight 9.5 with the under at a minus 120. Overs at even if you're looking to lay a run half with the Yankees. And we're between plus 105 to a plus 122 is that number on the run line. Pretty much any sort of a plus number, I was willing to take a shot on the Yankees, so I'm going to be willing to take a shot on that run line. For Kyle Bradish, ever since he's come off the injury list, he has been able to do a nice job for this Baltimore Orioles team, as the swing and miss stuff clearly is still there with Bradish. He has made 5 starts. He's getting 12.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, albeit with 3.2 walks per 9 innings, but 225 ERA, 246 fielding dependent, either 1 or 2 runs allowed in all 5 of his starts. So, I mean, that has been very good for the team. And for Luis Eel, it's been remarkable that he hasn't given up more runs than he has, as for Luis Eel, he has gone out there and provided a 3.29 ERA with 2 earned runs or fewer allowed in 6 out of his last 7 starts, but he has a 424 fielding dependent, as he's got 6.8 strikeouts to 5.4 walks per 9 innings. His saving grace has been not allowing the deep ball, 3 home runs allowed in his 10 starts as far this season, but also faces a Baltimore Orioles lineup that is second worst in the American League in terms of run creation away from home. Away from home, they're only averaging about 3.9 runs per contest. Very much a banged up team, though. They get back Jordan Westberg, who's being able to provide 15-plus home runs at a 260 average for this series. They had Adley Rutschman for game number 1 of the series. They let him sit yesterday. You've had some of the guys at the bottom like Kobe Mayo, Colton Cowser, Samuel Basalo, Tyler O'Neill, a whole bunch of guys sitting at 220 or lower that have just had bad seasons, to say the least. Ryan Mountcastle sitting at 250, but not a lot of power, not a lot of on base. Jackson Holliday and Gunnar Henderson have really been your main 2 constants for this team. And I will say Dylan Beavers about a 371 on base, but for this Yankees team, they can trot out their lineup on any given day, which you have all 9 guys providing at least 19 home runs in that starting lineup. Paul Goldschmidt has not been one of them, but he's been able to move line, find a way to be able to get on base. Jazz Chisholm was hit by a pitch in the game on Saturday. I have to figure that he's going to be out for this one, but Aaron Judge is judge, jury, and executioner. 53 home runs, a 455 on base. John Carlos Sand, 350 on base. He's giving you a home run every about 11.5 or so at bats. Trent Grisham is up to 34 home runs, and 18 plus of them have come post All-Star break as well. Now for the Yankees bottom 3 team in terms of bullpen areas since the beginning of the month of July, as you just have had so many guys have not come through in this bullpen, to say the least. In a Yankees uniform and a Yankees uniform only, Camilo Duvall, Devin Williams, Mark Leiter Jr., all providing above a 4.50 ERA, and with Luke Weaver, along with Yuri De Los Santos, Fernando Cruz. These guys just have not been the same since coming off the injury list. David Bennar has not pooped the Bennar. He's been rock solid. And then on the other end for the Baltimore Orioles, man, this is a bullpen that's not great. Yarmil Hidalgo, Ynier Cano, Grant Wolfram, a whole bunch of guys are posting up an ERA that's above a 4. They don't have Dietrich Enns, one of their long guys. Rico Garcia has been relatively solid, but do think that for Kyle Bradish, he's going to be able to give you a relatively okay start here, but that bullpen is an issue, and I do think that for the Orioles, they're going to have a tough time getting the eel. So I told it at 8.6. I like the under, and I do like the Yankees on the run line. 965, 966 on the card. It is the Tigers. They hit the road. They're facing off against the Boston Red Sox. We do know that Tariq Skubal is going to be on the bump for the Tigers, and right now the belief is that you should be getting Lucas Giolito going for the Red Sox, but as of right now, that is yet to be confirmed, so this game is presently off the board, but I've got my handicap if you do get that. I set the Tigers at a minus 160 on the money line, so one to lay up to minus 159 there, plus 161 or better looking at the Red Sox, and then set a total to where 7 or less. I'm in on the over 7.5 or higher the under, unless if Tariq Skubal is hiking the ball between his legs again like he did in his last start against the Cleveland Guardians. Just a remarkable blow up there. He has been very rock solid. A strikeout to walk ratio that is above a 7.5. This guy is going to win the American League Cy Young Award, and has been keeping the hard contact to a minimum, giving up 0.8 home runs per 9 innings. And for Skubal, he's still performed really well when he's been on the road this far this season as well. 2.13 home ERA, 2.30 ERA on the road. And on the flip side, if it is indeed Lucas Giolito who's going to be getting the start for the Boston Red Sox, 3.41 ERA, but a 4.18 fielding dependent, 7.5 strikeouts to 3.5 walks per 9 innings, has really been able to come into his own since mid to late June. He had a rough start against the Angels where he just got completely destroyed in that start, but you take a look at everything ever since then, and he's just been a completely different pitcher as he's been able to keep the walks down in this time span, giving up fewer than 3 walks per 9 innings, and the team is 14-5 in its last 19 starts in this time span that I'm referencing, a 2.50 ERA, and if it's not Lucas Giolito, this probably goes to more like a plus 180 or so, in which I'd be taking a look at the Red Sox, mainly because with Giolito, even though he's rock solid, this is a Boston Red Sox bullpen that their forte is their bullpen. They're a top 4 team in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. You've got so many guys like Garrett Whitlock, Chris Murphy, Justin Wilson, these guys who have been able to give you a sub 3.25 ERA. Aroldis Chapman has obviously been the best closer in the league. He's been posting up about a 1.25 ERA, so they've done a nice job of mixing and matching there. And this Red Sox team is still a top 8 team in the big leagues in terms of run creation. Just a lot of guys in general that are doing a solid job in terms of moving the line, getting on base. Weiler Abreu, Nick Sogard, Jaron Duran, hitting in that neighborhood about a 249 to a 260 or so. And then you've got Trevor Story, who's been dealing with a little bit of injury. He was out of the lineup yesterday. He and Weiler Abreu are the lone guys with 20 plus home runs on the roster, but Masataka Yoshida is now hitting at 270 since they picked up Nathaniel Lowe. He's been able to provide above a 340 on base. And for the Tigers, this continues to be a top 10 team in terms of run creation on offense, just because they've got a lot of consistency with their offense. Spencer Torkelson, 30 plus home runs with a 333 on base. You've had Riley Green reach 35 bombs. He's been able to about a 260, and then just a lot of guys sitting in the neighborhood again, like at 255 to 265. Gleyber Torres, along with Javi Baez, Riley Green, who I mentioned mentioned a little bit before, and then Daylen Dingler, he's actually outside that. He's now hitting for about a 275. These guys have all been able to do a nice job there for the Tigers. What has really been the issue for this team has been their bullpen pitching. They're starting to find a little bit more. They had to use Brian Herder yesterday, but only for 11 pitches. Brennan Hennefy, Bailey Horn, I believe, will give you sub 3.25 ERA. Will Vest has still been relatively solid, but man, the season that Tommy Kahnle is having, not necessarily great, but I don't think that the Tigers are going to need too much of the bullpen here. If it is Skubal going against Giolito, I'd be saying the Tigers at a minus 160 on the money line. Pretty much any sort of plus money we'll be looking at that run line. If it's not Giolito, more like minus 180 or so, and then I'd be looking to lay about a minus 110 on the run line. And with Skubal versus Giolito, 7 or less, looking at the over 7.5 or higher, the under, not Giolito, 7.5 or less, in on the over 8 or higher, the under, 967, 968 on the card. The Royals are on the road. They're facing off against the Athletics. We do know that it is going to be Cole Reagans on the bump for the Kansas City Royals. Right now for the Athletics, it's to be determined. The belief is that this should be Jeffrey Springs, but this game is presently off the board. If it is Springs going up against Reagans, I set the Royals at a minus 132 on the money line. We'll be able to go up to a minus 131 there, plus 133 or better the A's, and then set a total of 9.49 or less in on the over 9.5 or higher the under for Cole Reagans. He's going to look to close out the season strong and just be able to build a little bit of momentum after just so much of his season was derailed. Missed about 3 months due to injury, and in his 2 starts since coming back, has allowed 4 runs over the course of 8 2/3 innings, but he's also had 14 strikeouts in those 8 2/3 innings, and the numbers just point towards a lot of positivity. A 5.02 ERA, but a 269 fielding dependent this season. He's getting 14.1 strikeouts at 3 walks per 9 innings, only about 1 home run per 9. He has pitched much better than what the ERA and just the base level numbers indicate, and if you do indeed get Jeffrey Springs, he has just been a complete nightmare when he has been in Sacramento this season. Overall, 7.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, his career worst. 1.5 home runs, 2.8 walks allowed per 9 innings, a 4.11 ERA, a fielding dependent that is well above a 4.50. But for Jeffrey Springs, where the issues really come out is in Sacramento with a 4.81 ERA. In Sacramento, giving up about 1.9 home runs per 9 innings. And if you don't get Jeffrey Springs, you're probably not going to get anything trustworthy here for the Athletics, and that would really balloon up this number. And then I'd be probably looking at more like a minus 145 to a minus 150 on that money line of the Royals, despite the fact that this Royals lineup has been in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of run creation. You have been able to get quite a bit out of Salvador Perez and Vinny Pasquantino, both of these guys 30 plus home runs. Pasquantino hitting at 265, Perez only about a 290 on base overall this season, but I have to love what Bobby Witt Jr. has brought to the table. He's up to 37 stolen bags, 350 on base, 23 home runs, and you've had Miguel Garcia do a really nice job providing a 350 on base. He's up to 16 home runs. Now, Jonathan India has been a disappointment. You just expected more than a 235 average and 9 home runs. And the guys at the bottom of the lineup, Jack Caglione, when he's been out there, John Rave, who they've optioned down to the minor league level. They've been trying to mix and match with some of these younger guys. They had to trot down there Nick Lofton back down to the minors as well. They just have mostly not panned out. Connor Jansen has been one of those guys that has thus far about a 360 on base, but for the Royals, the bread and butter of this team has really been that bullpen. So even if you don't get Cole Reagans, give you necessarily the world's longest start, you've got a pair of guys in Carlos Aceves, Daniel Lynch. They're providing a sub 325 ERA. Taylor Clark has been solid as well. He can give you a little bit of length. He's up to about a 325 ERA, so that's been solid. Jonathan Bolin has been a little bit up and down with more like a 4 ERA, but overall, bullpen is in good hands, even though Lucas Ursuch is on the injured list. And for the Athletics, if you look since the beginning of the month of August, they've actually been a top 5 team in terms of their bullpen ERA. Now, for the season, this has not been great. Michael Kelly, though, has been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. You've had some of these guys come into their own, even though you still have likes of a Grant Holman, Tyler Ferguson posting up an ERA above a 450. But Hogan Harris has been more like Hogan Hero. He and Justin Cerner have been able to give you about a 325 ERA. If you do get like Mitch Spence as a starter, as I know that he's a little bit of an option here as well, he's posting up more like a 5 ERA, so that's not necessarily too reliable. So if it were to be someone like a Spence instead of Springs, like I said, Springs at a plus 132, Spence would be more like a plus 145 to a plus 150. And as of right now, with Springs versus Reagan, 9 or less, looking at the over 9.5 or higher, the under. If it is Spence / someone else, 9.5 or less to the over, a 10 or higher to the under. 969, 970 on the card. The Astros hit the road. They're facing off against the Angels. We do know that Sam Itajiri is going to be on the bump for the Angels. Right now, it is to be determined on the bump for the Astros, so this game is off the board, and this should be Christian Javier because the Astros really are out of options on the checkerboard unless if they just punt on the season. So there's that aspect of things. And if you do get Mr. Javier going up against Sam Dejiri, I did set the Astros at a minus 157 on the money line. Pretty much anything of plus money we'll be looking at their run line, plus 158 or better. Looking at the Angels, and then 9 or less, I'm going to be in on the over 9.5 prior to the under. For Christian Javier, ever since he has come off the injury list, it has been a bit of a up-down all-around sort of season for him, and I need to be very much in line to be able to make this start. Last one on the 23rd, so this would be his time through the rotation. 4.62 ERA, but a 3.66 fielding dependent. For Javier, he's not giving up the deep ball. He's only allowed 3 home runs in his 8 starts across 37 innings, but he has given up 3.5 walks, only about 8.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, has been a little bit down there, and let's say that we do get a little bit of a wholesale approach here from the Astros. They don't get downgraded too much because the Astros are a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Now, the bullpen is a little bit banged up, Bennett Sosa, Josh Hader being on the injury list, but we've got the Bryants, Brian King, Brian Abreu, along with Steven Okert, who've been able to supply a sub-350 ERA. Aniel de los Santos, ever since he's come over to the team, has been, needless to say, very much up and down. He's posting up an ERA about a 4.22 with the Houston Astros, and then you've had Craig Kimbrell actually give you some okay innings, but Craig Kimbrell at some point is going to poop the bed for the team, I assure you of that. But for the Astros, the big thing is they just need to be getting a little bit more consistency out of this lineup. Jeremy Pena along with Jake Myers, these are the two guys that have pretty much the best batting average for the team. Both of these guys hitting above 280. They've been dealing with injuries all throughout this series. You've got Jose Altuve, though, up to 26 home runs, hitting for about a 265. Carlos Correa, ever since he rejoined the Astros, has done a really good job of moving line. Not necessarily a ton of power, but for the Astros in 50 games, he's hitting for about a 290, 6 home runs, so you do like to see that. And then Christian Walker and Yanier Diaz have both been able to provide power. Diaz is up to 19 home runs. Walker, he's been able to supply 24 home runs, but Walker only about a 290 on base, and even though Diaz hits for like a 255, his on base percentage is about a 285, and for the Angels, this is a lineup that just has not been able to get on base all season long. Bottom 4 team in terms of on-base percentages, despite the fact that their overall power has been really good. Like, Taylor Ward is up to 36 home runs, Joe Adell is up to 37 bombs, but Ward is hitting at 227. Adell, 236 on base, Ward just above a 300 on base, Adell just below a 300 on base. Even Mike Trout has been only hitting for like a 230, 235, but he's been able to give you the home run power, and he's up to about a 355 on base as well. They've got Nolan Schunel back in the fold. He's been able to do a nice job being able to give the team above a 340 on base, so you've got a few nice pieces there, but some of these guys at the bottom of the lineup, like, man, you just wonder where they're coming from. Like Christian Moore, Oswald Peraza have been hitting like below a 215. Densar Guzman, that's not a place where you want to be. They're trotting out their Chris Taylor right now as well, and this is a bullpen that's just all sorts of awful right now. Brock and Roll Burke along Kenley Jansen, a sub 350 ERA, but then you look at some of these guys like a Jose Fermin, Connor Brogdon, Sam Bachman, Ryan Zefrian, all providing above a 4 ERA, and El Dejiri, I just don't think is a big league pitcher as of right now. They gave him a little bit of a cup of coffee at the big league level last year. They're giving him another opportunity this year, but in his combined 6 appearances in his MLB career, 6.14 ERA. He has given up in this time span just way too many walks, 17 walks in 22 innings. It's not like this guy was some sort of dominator at the minor league level as well. For El Dejiri, when he was at the minor league level this year, 3.78 ERA with 4.1 walks, 7.6 strikeouts per 9 innings. So 9 or less, looking at the over 9.5 or the under for Javier. We'll be setting him at a minus 157 on the money line. Not Javier, probably closer to about a plus 150. I'd be willing to take a shot on the Angels. Need at least plus 158 if they do go up against Javier. 971, 972 on the card. The Rays are on the road. They're facing up against the Toronto Blue Jays as Kevin Gausman goes for the Jays and Ian Seymour goes for the Rays. The Rays do find themselves as an underdog of plus 160. Minus 190 is that number on the Blue Jays, and seeing a total anywhere between 7.5 and 8 on the 7.5. The over is minus 120 and the under is even, and on the 8, the under is minus 115 and the over is minus 105, and this is a case where I'm going to be looking at the over. I did set my total at 8.3, and with the Blue Jays, I can only set them at a minus 155 on the money line. For Ian Seymour, he sort of piggybacked in his last appearance. He actually came out of the bullpen, pitched like 3 or 4 innings. He and Ryan Pepiot sort of tag team that, and we could see something very similar here. I don't know if they're going to be throwing out their Pepiot or if it's just going to be a poo-poo platter of different pitchers coming out of the bullpen. As the Rays, they've been a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA over the last 2.5 to 3 months, as they've got some like a Joe Rock who they can utilize as a bit of a long guy, give you a sub 350 ERA. Garrett Clevenger, Eric Orze, Pete Fairbanks are all give you a sub 325 ERA. Edwin Uceta has been a pretty good long guy, so quite a bit of depth there. And for Ian Seymour, when he's actually gotten starts thus far this season, he's been pretty rock solid. They've utilized him both as a long reliever and a starter, so probably going to only trot him out there for 3 or 4 innings, but 2.85 ERA, 3.10 fielding dependent, 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, giving up 0.7 home runs, 2.9 walks per 9. And for Kevin Gausman, he's really had a nice second half of the season. Did give up 4 runs in his last start against Boston, but in his previous 4 starts, had allowed a combined 3 earned runs, 3.47 ERA, 3.45 fielding dependent, just not hurting himself. 1 home run, 2.3 walks allowed per 9 innings. He's getting 8.5 strikeouts per 9, and he's backed up by a bullpen that has been shaky, bottom half of the big leagues in terms of ERA ever since the All-Star break, but you do have the likes of Yuriel Rodriguez, Braden Fisher, along with Brandon Little, who've been able to give you sub 3.50 ERA. Since they picked up Sir Anthony Dominguez, he's been able to give them about a 3.25 ERA as well, so he's been coming up relatively big, and it's a Blue Jays team that is averaging darn near 5.2 to 5.3 runs per game ever since the All-Star break. That is number 1 in the American League as George Springer. He's up over 30 home runs with a 3.95 on base. You expect a little bit more than 23 home runs out of Vlad Guerrero Jr., but still give you a 380 on base. Addison Barger, 20-plus home runs. You've had Davis Schneider provide some good power. Dalton Varsho is getting a home run every 12 or so bats. Don't call his name Alejandro Kirk hitting at 280. So up, down, all around, this has been a very rock-solid lineup. And then you've got a trio of guys for the Rays who have done a nice job supplying the boom as well. You've had Yandy Diaz hit for a 300 with 25-plus home runs, and then Brandon Lowe and Junior Caminero, both hanging between about a 255 to 265. Both of these guys right around about a 310 on base. They don't draw a lot of walks, but Lowe's up to 31 home runs, Caminero 45 home runs, and they've got Jonathan Aranda back. His on-base percentage is right around about a 390. Does a good job of moving the line, as is Jake Magnum and Chandler Simpson, who are both right around about a 295 average. Simpson above 40 stolen bases, Magnum above 25 stolen bags. Now, the shortstop spot and the catcher spot have been a big issue for the Rays, but I do think that you should be able to get some run scoring in this one with the Blue Jays. Can only set them at a minus 155, so getting that plus 160 plus, I'm in on the Rays on the money line, and I like this over, made by total in an 8.3. 973, 974 on the betting board. The Rangers hit the road they're facing off against the Cleveland Guardians. They really made my task fun on this one. It is old undecided who's going to be on the bump for the Rangers. It's old undecided who's going to be on the bump for the Cleveland Guardians. This game is totally off the board. Now, the projections I saw was Gavin Williams going up against Patrick Corbin, but that is very much subject to change. But if you do indeed get this matchup, set the Guardians at a minus 155 on the money line. We'll be willing to lay up to minus 154 there, plus 156 or better. Looking at the Rangers, and then 8.5 or less in on the over, 9 or higher to the under. This could be Merrill Kelly's start in the rotation as well, but I mean, the Rangers season is done at this point, so there's that aspect of things. And if it is a Rangers bullpen game going against Gavin Williams, honestly, there wouldn't be a ton of change just because Patrick Corbin has not been the same pitcher when he's been away from home rather than at home. For Patrick Corbin, when he's been in Arlington this year, he's been rock solid overall for the season. 4.34 ERA, 1.2 home runs, 2.9 walks per 9 innings. So he hasn't been the sad and pathetic man that he was the last few seasons over with the Washington Nationals. But when you get Corbin away from home, 5.31 ERA, his home runs per 9 rate, that balloons all the way up to about a 1.7. And if you do indeed get Gavin Williams, which I would think would be the case for the Cleveland Guardians in this game, because they are going to need this game, 4.5 walks per 9 innings, but 9.3 strikeouts, 1.2 home runs allowed per 9 innings with a 3.06 ERA. He has given up a combined 6 runs over the course of his last 5 starts. Is he doing for a little bit of regression? Yes, but I don't know if that regression is going to be coming here against a Texas Rangers team that, let's call it what it is, this lineup is all sorts of banged up. Wyatt Langford, Corey Seager, their seasons are done. You've still got Adolis Garcia out there with 18 home runs. He was the lone guy in the starting lineup with 16 plus home runs yesterday, and you only had one guy in the starting lineup yesterday for the Rangers hitting above a 250. That'd be Donovan Solano. Yeah, that is not a place where you want to be, as they're trotting out their likes of Dylan Moore, Alejandro Osuna, a lot of young guys, and Ezekiel Duran has not had a good season thus far. Like, Michael Hellman had a little bit of a run like 2 weeks ago. He had 3 home runs in 5 games. This is not a great lineup. And for the Cleveland Guardians, this team is in the bottom 4 in the big leagues in terms of run creation at home. Like, they are not where they are right now because of their lineup. You've had a trio of guys, Jose Ramirez, Kyle Manzardo, and Steven Kwan be able to pick it up. Kwan is hitting a 275. Manzardo about a 320 on base, 27 home runs. And then obviously Jose Ramirez has been your main man, 350 on base, 30 home runs. He has been amazing, but it's so many guys. They're just not hitting for the team. Bo Naylor, Jonathan Rodriguez, John Kessie Noel, Austin Hedges. Like, man, a lot of guys hitting below the Mendoza line of a 200. And then even the guys that are hitting above a 200, Gabriel Arias is hitting like a 220 for this team. Nolan Jones is not giving you too much. But this team, in terms of their bullpen, they have been absolutely amazing, as as you've got so many guys that have been able to just go out there and produce. Hunter Gaddis and Cade Smith have had their ups and downs, but they're both now below a 3.25 ERA. Jacob Junis, Eric Zabrowski, both of these guys have been rock solid with a sub-3 ERA. Kobe Allard has been a really good long guy, and for the Texas Rangers, this bullpen has been pretty solid for them as well. You've got a Rangers bullpen that involves the good likes of Phil Matone, Sean Armstrong, Robert Garcia, Cole Winn. These guys who will be able to give you a sub-3.25 ERA, so I think that this is going to be a relatively well-pitched game. I was initially thinking an 8.5 or less to the over, a 9 or higher to the under, but man, with the way that the Rangers are not throwing out there a lot of guys that are very competitive at the plate, we're going to lower that a little bit. Right now, with regards to it being Williams against Patrick Corbin, it'd be a 7.5 or less to the over, an 8 or higher to the under. If you don't get Patrick Corbin and you get like a bullpen game, an 8 or less to the over, an 8.5 higher to the under. 975, 976. On the card, it is the Minnesota Twins. They hit the road. They're facing off against the Philadelphia Phillies as Christopher Sanchez is on the bump for the Phils, and Simeon Woods Richardson is on the bump for the Twins. Shock, shock, surprise, surprise. The Twins find themselves as a giant underdog, anywhere between a plus 168 to a plus 185 is that number there. Minus 208 to minus 220 is that number on the Phillies. 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8.5. Under is minus 120. The over is even. On the 8, the over is minus 120. The under is even. Right now, I'm seeing minus 105 to a plus 108 with regards to this Phillies run line, and I'd be willing to go up to a minus 118. For Simeon Woods Richardson, it's been a little bit of a shaky second half of the season. Has looked a bit better in his last few starts, but not a guy that's going to blow you away by any stretch of the imagination. A 4.27 ERA with 8.4 strikeouts, 3.9 walks per 9 innings, and the big issue has been the deep ball, allowing 1.5 home runs per 9 innings for a 4.77 fielding independent. And the big issue for Woods Richardson is that most of these home run balls that he's been giving up have been away from home. As for Woods Richardson, when he has been on the road, 5.89 ERA, and he's giving up over 2 home runs per 9 innings, facing off against Phillies team that they're averaging right around about 5.5 runs per game at home. That is number 2 in all of baseball in terms of home run creation. And Harrison Bader, who comes on over from Minnesota, has been magnificent for the Philadelphia Phillies, hitting above a 300 in a Phillies uniform. Bryce Harper starting to pick it up. He's been able to give you 27 bombs, about 360 on base. Kyle Schwarber just continues to hit shore bombs, 370 on base. He's up to 56 home runs. And then you've got Brandon Marsh, who's hitting about a 280. Alec Boehm, him coming off the injury list as big as he and Armando Sosa, both hitting above a 275. And then on the flip side for the Minnesota Twins, you've got guys that have power, like Cody Clemens is up to 19 home runs this year, but he's only hitting a 215. Matt Wallner was providing power with over 20 home runs, but he was hitting a 205, and now he's on the injured list. And then the bottom of the lineup, James Outman, Ryan Fitzgerald, Mickey Gasper, Carson McCosker, so many guys that are hitting below a 225. You're just not getting a lot of production there. And Royce Lewis, he's been a little bit better recently, but it's been a lost season for him. And for the Minnesota Twins, this bullpen is just all sorts of rough, to say the least. Cody Funderburk actually has not been terrible. He's gotten an ERA below a 375, so yay, verily there. But you still have so many of these guys, like Michael Tonkin, Pearson Ewell, Thomas Hatch. You got a lot of guys posting up an ERA well above a 4. Genesis Cabrera has been an absolute nightmare for the team. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, even though things did not pan out with Jose Alvarado coming off of suspension, so have the likes of Tanner Banks, Orion Kirkering, Matt Strom, Yohan Duran, who have been able to give you a sub-335 ERA. And for Christopher Sanchez, he just flat out has been one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. He's not going to win the Cy Young Award, but he certainly is going to be finishing in the top 2 / the top 3, as he's supplying an ERA of a 257, fielding independent in line with that. 9.4 strikeouts at 2 walks per 9 innings, 0.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings, and 0 or 1 runs allowed in 4 of his last 5 starts, and has provided at least 6 innings in every one of those starts as well. So do think that the Phillies should be able to go out there, dominate this game. I'm willing to lay up to a minus 118 on that run line, made by total in an 8.3. So here at the 8, I like the over. 977, 978 on the betting board. It is the Washington Nationals playing the Chicago White Sox. Shane Smith goes for the Southsiders, and Brad Lord says, oh Lord, to getting another start for Washington. Washington is a slim favorite of minus 112, minus 104 is that number on the White Sox. 8.5 is the total. Over is minus 115. The under is minus 105. And willing to ride with the Nationals here. Did set their money line price at a minus 117. For Brad Lord, he's done a good job in terms of not allowing the deep ball. He's not a guy that's going to get a bunch of strikeouts or anything like that, but he's keeping things out in front of him. 4.12 ERA, 1 home run to 2.9 walks per 9 innings, 7.5 strikeouts per 9. Is he magnificent? No, but he's going against a White Sox team that, even though they've been more towards like the middle half / the upper half of the big leagues in terms of run creation ever since the All-Star break, it's still a team that has been a little bit up, down, all around. Their striking striking out less, which I will give them that. And Colson Montgomery up to 21 home runs this season. Not a lot of guys hitting for average other than the catcher spot. Edgar Quiero and Kyle Teal, both hitting above 265 has been rock solid, but Mike Tauchman, Andrew Benintendi are done for the season. You have Lennon Sosa sitting at 260. He's been able to give you 21 plus home runs, but now you're trotting out there some guys at the bottom like Derek Hill, Michael A. Taylor, Dominic Fletcher that just have not been able to give you too much of anything. And for the Washington Nationals, they average only about 4 runs per game at home compared to about 4.6 runs per game away from home. And you have Luis Garcia get a 3 home run game earlier in the series. He's up to 15 bombs. Now CJ Abrams is up to 19 home runs. 4 of them have come at home, but you know what? He's been able to about a 260 for this team. James Wood is giving you good wood, 31 bombs, about a 350 on base. The young guys just have not stepped up. Dylan Cruz, Andres Shapiro, Brady House, along with Robert Hassel. These guys give you less than a 300 on base. And then you've got just the hilarious 263 average of Jorge Alfaro, who also has a 263 on base. So that's been a lot of good, clean family fun. And for both of these teams, the bullpen is not great, to say the least, as Mike Vasil has been a good long guy for the White Sox, but they typically trot him out there like once every 3 days for 3+ innings, like so Brandon Iser, Grant Taylor, they're on there as well, like a Cam Bouger providing above a 4 ERA. That's an issue for the Washington Nationals, dead last in the big leagues. In terms of bullpen ERA, Shinkuski, Ogasara, Sarin Lau, Connor Pilkington, Jackson Rutledge. I mean, you just go down the list of guys posting up an ERA above a 4.55. Jose Ferrer, more like a 4.42. That's not great to say the least. So I do think that you're going to get some run creation in this game, and with Shane Smith, he's actually been a very rock-solid pitcher for the Chicago White Sox thus far this season. It's a little bit concerning with regards to the walks of him, and I am for a lot of these pitchers on the Chicago White Sox. They just have been giving out a few too many walks. With Smith, 3.98 ERA, 3.7 walks, 8.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, 426 field independent. It's been a little bit up and down recently with 4+ runs allowed in 2 out of his last 4 starts. That said, I did set my total at 8.4. I do feel like the 8.5 is a little bit too high because I do think that Smith and Lord give you a good start, so looking at that 8.5 under, and with the Nationals, I'm willing to lay up to a -116 on the money line and wrap things up with 979, 980 on the card. The LA Dodgers are on the road against the Seattle Mariners. Clayton Kershaw goes for the Dodgers, and Bryce Miller is on the bump for Seattle. Pick'em game here. Both teams between -108 to a -110. Total is 8. The over is -115 to -120. The under is between even and -105. And I did set the Dodgers here at a -123. I'm going to be willing to lay that money line just because I've got my trust issues right now with Bryce Miller. He just has not had a great season. A 5.53 ERA since coming off the injured list. He has given up 3+ runs in pretty much all but 2 of those starts, and I think that he's made 8 since coming off the injured list. 7.5 strikeouts at 3.3 walks per 9 innings. Now, I will say this about Bryce Miller. Throughout his career, has been a much better pitcher in Seattle rather than on the road, as Seattle is one of the most pitcher-friendly ballparks that you're going to find in all of baseball. For Mr. Miller, a 3.24 career ERA when he's at home. At home, he's given up about 1.1 home runs per 9 innings. On the road, that goes up to about 1.45 home runs per 9 innings with a 4.77 ERA. And for Clayton Kershaw, he might be a little bit of a fish out of water, as they needed him in long relief in the win over the Arizona Diamondbacks. That was like 3-4 days ago on the 24th, so that was interesting to say the least, but he's done a good job of not beating himself. 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, not what you'd expect out of Clayton Kershaw, but 0.7 home runs, 2.9 walks allowed per 9 innings, so he's done a good job of being able to be reliable and be consistent there. They're probably going to be looking to a lot of the bullpen, and this is an LA Dodgers bullpen that has not been amazing, to say the least, but Roki Sasaki actually being in the bullpen, that helps him out. He's been relatively rock solid there, and then you do get back likes of Blake Tryon, Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates. They've all been providing above a 3.75 ERA. I do think that they might be able to find it sooner rather than later. Anthony Banda's been really good in this bullpen as well. He's down below a 3.20 ERA. Alex Vesia right around a 3 ERA. And Jack Dreyer is a long guy. Has been rock solid with about a 3 ERA. Edgar Enriquez as well. Whenever they've thrown him out there, he's been relatively solid. And for the Dodgers team, they're still a top 5 offense in terms of run creation. And having Max Muncy back has been so big. With Max Muncy in the lineup versus out, they average about a run per game more when he's out there. 19 home runs at a 3.76 on base with regards to Max Muncy. And for this Dodgers team, you've also got Shohei Ohtani providing about a 3.90 on base, 54 home runs. Obviously, he's been amazing, but Teoscar Hernandez, even though the on base is not there at a 2.85, 25 home runs, Eddie Paz is up to 27 home runs. Mookie Betts hitting above a 275 since the All-Star break has been big. Will Smith is getting jiggy with it on the injury list, but Freddie Freeman continues to give you a 365 on base. And then on the other end, you got a Seattle Mariners team that is looking to just slug their way to victory as well. Big number count. Raleigh, 60-plus home runs, providing a 360 on base. And then Eugenio Suarez, since he's been picked up by the team, his batting average in a Seattle Mariners uniform is right around about a 200, but 13 home runs and 193 at-bats. That's no joke. You've got Julio Rodriguez providing 32 bombs, hitting about a 270. Tom Canzone hitting right in the neighborhood about a 300. So you've got a lot of guys who are able to move line. J.P. Crawford is one of those guys as well. And the bullpen has been very good for the Seattle Mariners team as well. Matt Brash, Andres Munoz, Edward Bazardo, Gabe Spire, all give you a sub-275 ERA. And Luke Jackson, since they picked him up, he's been relatively solid as well. But that said, I do think that the Dodgers are going to be able to get to Miller here, and they're just going to overwhelm them. Semi-total at 8.2, like the over, and the Dodgers up to a minus 122 on that money line. And that'll wrap things up for the Sunday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to Major Matt Josephs for joining me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one or two ways to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please just send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review, and I'm with you guys every single day throughout the regular season into the postseason, as this is the last day of the regular season, so I'll be with you guys all throughout the postseason, so I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.
This is an ad by Regain Couples Therapy. Let's be honest. Loving your partner doesn't mean you always like them, and guess what? That's normal. Regain, powered by BetterHelp, offers couples therapy that's flexible, affordable, and 100% online. Whether you're reconnecting or working through conflict, Regain is here to support you both. See why people wish they'd tried couples therapy sooner. Visit regain.com/couplespod to get 10% off your first month. That's regain.com/couplespod.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.